Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar on asset management and CMDB. In today's webinar, we shall be covering the following topics. So, first of all, we'll be looking at what is asset management. That will be followed by adding an asset in the service desk. After that, we'll look at linking an asset to a problem, a change, and an incident. Then we'll look at the asset tracking and the auto discovery part. After that, we will take a look at the contracts for assets. Then we shall look at the ITIL automation for asset management. And finally, we shall take a look at the reports and analytics for asset management. So this session will be for around 45 minutes, and after this we shall have a 10 minutes quick session for question and answers. So first of all, what is asset management? So asset management is the systematic recording of IT assets of an organization. So we provide the service desk tool which helps you to manage all the assets of your organization in a systematic manner. Now, the most important part comes, that is adding of an asset in the service desk. So there are multiple ways in which you can add an asset into the service desk. The first would be a manual addition, where you can add the assets manually one by one. Then would come the importing part. So if you have a list of assets in a CSV format, you can import the same into the system. And we also offer the auto discovery part, where you can scan a machine or you can scan the network and have the assets added into the system. Then you can also link an asset to a problem record, to a change record, or to an incident. We also offer asset tracking. So we offer audit logs and baseline. So these are two methods in the system using which you can track the assets and the changes made to assets in the system. We also offer asset contracts. So in this you can manage the contracts with your vendors. You can manage the approvals of contracts. You can be reminded for auto renewal of contracts and also be notified before the contract expires. We also offer an automation part in ITIL for asset management, wherein you can perform various activities like modifying the asset properties, assigning the asset to a staff, sending approval requests, notifying the staff members on asset updation, etc. We also offer reports for asset management. So we have a list of predefined reports from where you can generate reports for various activities done on assets. And we also offer custom reports for asset management. So now I shall be showing you all of these things in our software. So now I'm logging into our software, into the admin portal. Once I log in and I go into the admin settings, we have the roles over here. Under user settings, we have roles. And here you can define the roles of asset management. So as you scroll down over here, you'd get the option for the roles of assets and CMDB. So over here you can grant access to your staff member if they should be able to add assets, delete assets, clone assets, view assets, or scan the assets, perform a network scan, import assets into the system, export them, view the contracts related to assets, manage contracts, etc. So once you have defined the rules, then you can go ahead to the settings of assets, which is again under admin settings. So I'll go to admin settings, and as I scroll down, there's an option of asset settings over here. So over here, there's an option first of all to add a CI type. So it can be a CI type like a hardware, a software, a network, and under these you can add assets. You can also add asset states. So for example, if an asset is in use, in transit, in stock, if it's missing, and additional states can be added from here. You click on add asset state. You can give a title to the new asset state, uh, fill in the other details over here, and add this asset state over here. Then you can also add the other properties like license type, the software type, software categories. You can add the manufacturers, the model numbers. You can add the list of vendors over here, and also the products. So it can be one vendor providing you multiple products, or multiple vendors providing you one product. You can also add multiple product statuses over here. You can add the mode of procurements. You can add multiple depreciation types over here. Then you can add the contract types. We also have auto discovery, which I'll be showing you in some time. We have the life cycle status, which can be added over here. The contract software license types can be added. The disposition status types can also be added over here. The license control status and the asset departments. So all these properties can be added and managed from these settings over here for assets. Then we have the asset management part. So on the asset management page over here, on the left hand side, there will be some options to categorize these assets. So for example, there are IT assets under which we have workstation, which comprise of desktops, laptops, and mobiles. Then you can also have them categorized as per virtual host and VMs, as per non-IT assets. You can also have them categorized as per asset components like services, hardware, consumables. So these are the ones which we saw in the CI items. So you can add additional CI types over here. You can also view them as softwares, uh, and you can also generate barcodes and QR codes for your assets directly from here. On the right hand side of the screen, you get to see a summary where you get to see asset wise summary, then you get to see the asset billing summary, and also the new updates are seen over here, and the notifications can also be seen on the bottom of the screen over here. Then we also have the CMDB over here. So over here you can add an asset manually. So there is an add CI option on the top right hand corner. Once I click on this, so let's say if I want to add a CI type for hardware. So I'll just click on next. Over here I create a name. So let's say it's a printer. So I can define the impact it has. Let's say this affects a group. I can select the location over here. I can select the risk involved, its life cycle status, the department to which it belongs. Also, if it's migrated, I can select it over here, and I can define from where it is migrated. Then over here I can have this added under a product. So let's say this comes under computers, and I can select a vendor for it. The installation date will be fetched as today's date automatically. I can also modify this if required. I'll define the warranty period over here. Let's say it's 1 year. So the warranty expiry date would be added over here automatically. Then I'll define the asset state. Let's say it's in use. I can add a tag number for it. I can add a serial number for it. I can define the identification if I want it to be identified as per the barcode or as per the QR code. I can add a depreciation details over here. So if I want to add the cost, the salvage value, its useful life over here, I can add this directly. I can also add other details over here, like its IP address, its MAC address. I can add DML details or the definitive media library details over here. For example, the storage location. So let's say this is on table number 5, and the storage location I can have as table number 5 in room number 1. I can add a description. For example, it's for office use. I can also attach files with this, like the legislation files or the disposal regulations, privacy documents can all be attached over here. Any additional attachments can also be attached from here directly. And I can manage the assignment, that who's going to be managing this. So who's the staff member who will be managing this, who's the end user who will be using this, and the assigned on date, and click on add. So once I've added this, it will be seen in the CMDB page on the top. So I can see this printer over here is listed under hardware. I can also see it under the CI type hardware. So when I open this asset now, I get to see its properties on the left hand side. For example, its CI type, its impact, the risk involved, the life cycle status, who's the staff managing it, what's the location of it, and who's the end user using it. So all these details can be fetched over here. The properties can be seen on the right hand side, and the audit log can be seen. So whatever changes are made on this asset will all be seen over here. Then if I want to import these assets, so if I have a list of assets with me in a CSV format, I can import the list over here, and all the assets would be added into the system in one go. Then we also have an option of auto discovery, so where you can scan the assets and have those added into the system. So we have the asset settings over here, under which we have the auto discovery option. So over here, once you select the domain name, you get to see the registration key has been displayed over here. And now this is for downloading a small software for scanning the assets. So first of all, you decide which operating system you're using. You select it over here. If it's Linux, Windows, or Mac OS. And then you can select the download type. If it's agent, that is for a machine, or probe, that is for a network. So once you select this, there's an option to download this software, using which you can scan your machine. So now I'll just be showing you how you can scan your system using this. So I have this software installed, and I have logged into it. So now when I go and I click on the menu option, there's an option for an agent scan. So once I click on this, the information about the system would be gathered over here, and it would give me an option to scan it. So I get to see a device name, its IP address, its recent scan time. So I'll scan this. Right now I'm scanning a machine. So the scan has been completed. So let me show you the data which has been fetched into the asset management system. So I'll go into assets and I'll go under laptops. And this is the machine which I scanned right now. So on the left hand side, you get to see the properties of an asset, like the CI type, its impact, its life cycle status, who's the end user using it, the last audit date. On the right hand side, you get to see the properties of the asset. So here you can see the CI details, where you get to see the name of the machine, its model number, its warranty expiry date, its installation date and acquisition date. Below that would be the financial details. So you can also add this financial details. There's an edit option on the right hand side. So clicking on this, you can add the details. So let's say the cost is $1,000, the salvage value is $50, the depreciation type is, let's say, deducting balance, and let's say useful life is 4 years. So I'll update this. So once I update it, it will be saved over here under my financial details. Under hardware details, I will get to see the hardware properties of the scanned machine. So I get to see the IP address, I get to see the MAC address, the operating system, the total memory. I also get to see the processor details, the hard disk details, the network details, and the details of other devices which are connected to this machine. Then we also get to see the list of installed softwares on this machine. So these are a list of all the softwares installed on this machine, and by clicking on any of this software, you get to see further details like the name of the software, its installation date, its license expiry date, its manufacturer, and the installation path can all be seen over here directly. Also, you get to see if this is an authorized software, that is if it has a valid contract attached to it, or a non-authorized one. Then we have the audit log, where you get to see the list of all the changes made over this software, over this particular asset, right from the time it was added into the system. You get to see it along with the date and time stamp and the staff. Then you get to see the depreciation details over here. I'll just refresh this page. So you can see the depreciation details over here, like the cost of the asset when it was procured was $1,000, and it has been depreciated over the 4 years. Also, there is an option of a baseline over here, where you get to see the base value of the asset and the current value. So whatever changes happen over an asset right from the time it was added into a system would all be seen or can all be checked over here under the baseline. Then this asset will be auto scanned by the system every 24 hours. If you want to scan the asset in between, you can perform a scan using the scan now option. Then there's an option to add attributes. So if you want to add any additional value, let's say for example, you want to add a color over here. So you can add additional attributes or additional details in this form, and it will be seen over here. Also, you can attach this, or you can define the relationship between this asset with other assets. So if it depends on another asset, if it's connected to another asset, or if it is hosted on another asset, it can be defined over here. Then we also have the option of the automation for assets. So under the automation, we have ITIL automation. So here you can add the automation rules for your assets. So this is made up of three main parts. There's an event, a criteria, and an action. So you can define the event over here. So for assets, we have multiple events like, let's say an event for when an asset has been added, or when an asset has been updated, or an asset expiry, or on data wiping requested, or data wiping completed. The criteria can also be met over here, like for a particular manufacturer, for a particular product, for a particular vendor, a life cycle status, an asset state, a CI type. And then the action can be defined if you want to have this assigned to a particular staff member, or if you want to modify any other property, that can be done from here directly. So in this manner, you can go ahead and you can create multiple ITIL automation rules into the system. Then we also have the option of reports for assets. So over here under all reports, we have the option of the reports for assets. So these are predefined reports which you can select from, like incident CI relation, the assets used by client, assets used by guest, the assets managed by a particular staff member, the assets by asset state, assets by location, assets by depreciation. If you want the asset cost report, the assets by unauthorized changes, or the contract reports, these all can be managed from here directly. So let's say, for example, there's incident CI relation. So you can select the duration over here, like last 30 days, last 7 days, last 24 hours, or you can also define your custom duration for the same. You can select a domain for it and generate a report for it. So this is how a report would be seen, and you can also export this report. You can export it as a CSV, an HTML, or an Excel file, and you can also schedule this report to be repeated multiple times. So let's say if I want this daily, I can define the start date and the end date for it, and I can define the export type and also have this sent on my email address. We also have the option of custom reports. So if you want to create an additional a report which is not present in the existing predefined reports for assets, you can create a custom report for it. So over here you define the criteria, like the name of the asset, or if you want to have it filtered according to location. These are dynamic options, so you can select multiple options over here. The risk involved, its impact, its life cycle status, its disposition status, its asset department, the CI type can all be selected over here, and you can also have this saved for future reference. Then we also have the contracts that you have for assets with your vendors. So you can add a contract from here. You can add a name for this contract, like contract with ABC. You can have the contract type added over here. You can define which product this contract is for. You can select the vendor, can define the license count, can define the approver, the cost per license. You can also have this attached to a CI. You can add a description. You can define the start date and the end date of a contract, and also choose to be notified before the contract expires. So you'll be notified as per the day you select. Like if you want to be notified 1 day before, 8 days before, 30 days before, you can define the duration over here, and you can add the email address over here on which you want the notification to be sent. You can also add the PO number over here. You can add the PO name. You can have the invoice number added, the invoice date. The total cost will be fetched automatically. As I had the cost as 110 number of licenses, it fetched $1,000 over here. And the PO invoice description can be added over here. You can also take this auto renew, so the contract will be auto renewed automatically at the end of the term. And then you can submit this for approval, or you can add this contract. So I'm done with this webinar of asset management and CMDB. You can now proceed with your questions. So I see that Mumina has a question for us over here. And her question is that I can see there is an option to import assets to only one category. Can I import asset types too? So thank you for this question, Mumina. So yes, there's an option to import the asset types as well. Let me quickly show this to you. So when we go into CMDB, and over here there's an import option. So see, there is a CI type option over here. There's an option of use CSV CI type. So you need to tick this, and then you can upload a CSV file into the system. So the CI types will also be added. Okay, Momina. So do we have any further questions over here? Okay, I see Dixon has a question for us over here. And his question is that how to add new fields to network CI type while adding a new asset. Okay, so we have this option available, Dixon. Let me just show this to you quickly. So we need to go into admin settings, and over here under the asset settings, we have CI type. And under this, there's an option of add custom fields. So you can define first of all, you can select which CI type you want to add this custom field under, and then you can select the type of custom field. So if you want to add a text box, a text area, a checkbox, or a multiple select box, the same can be done from here directly. And once you add this, it will be available on the asset adding page. I hope this answered your question. Okay, so do we have any further questions on asset management? Farad has a question for us that does the network scanner can give results like the agent? Farad, the network scan and the agent scans, they work differently. So the network scan would only give the basic network details like the IP address and the MAC address. And if you want the complete details of a machine, you would have to do an agent scan for it. About network scan, we are currently working on it to get more results. So we'll definitely get more results in the network scan in our future releases. So we're trying to get it similar to the agent scan. Okay, Farid, you're welcome. Okay, over here, Mumina has a question for us that is there any limit with adding number of assets? Yes, there is a limit of adding 1,000 assets. So by default, you can add 1,000 assets into the service desk. And if you want to add additional assets into the system, then you can purchase those from us. You can purchase those lots from us. There'll be in lots of thousands. So you can purchase those additional lot from us. All right, Bomina. So do we have any further questions? I believe there are no further questions, so we can end this webinar. If you come across any queries, you can always contact us on our Skype ID, which is vision.helpdesk. You can also email us on sales@visionhelpdesk.com, and also contact us on live chat on our website, which is visionhelpdesk.com. So I'm ending this webinar for now. Have a good time ahead. Bye bye.